Welcome to another episode of Soap Thing Thoughts. Joining me today is Brent and Eduardo of Apex Alchemy. Welcome to the project, and thank you for joining me.
Of course, thanks for having us. It's great to be here.
So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about yourselves, maybe a little bit about your backstory, what do you do for work, and how you came to be involved with Apex Alchemy. How did that come to be? What is Apex Alchemy?
Yeah, so it's kind of a multifaceted part. I'm going to say my part and kind of what me got into it, and then I'll have Eduardo. You know, he's a lot more of the shave maniac, shaveaholic than I am, and I kind of got into it because of him. But basically, I grew up with sensitive skin my whole life. I've had the benefit of having decent facial hair my whole life and traditional shaving stuff that I got into that I was showing my dad. So always using a can of Barbasol was easy to grab in the local retail store. He never had the issues like I did. And, you know, when I came of age and began growing facial hair and shaving always became an issue. I would have irritation. I had acne as a kid too, though. So it kind of made shaving a lot harder. You know, you kind of grow hairs and stuff around it and stuff. So Eduardo and I have been best friends since third grade. And I'm going to let him speak when he got into shaving, and then we'll kind of like go into what segued into actually becoming Apex. So if you want to talk about it.
So I got into wet shaving because I grew up, you know, I was told, oh, you probably have sensitive skin because I have sensitive skin. That was my dad. And I would just like not even bother with Barbasol or any shaving cream. I'd just take the razor and do that. And I didn't have any irritation issues. And then one day I see an ad on TV. It's the dude from Pawn Stars talking about how his dad used a safety razor. I'm like, huh, that seems interesting. So I do some research. I find the wet shaving Reddit subreddit. You know, I look at what they recommend, and I get myself a nice shaving soap from the now gone Mickey Lee Soap Works and Dapper Dragon. And then I've accumulated a collection of like 100-something different shaving soaps. It's not a hobby, it's an addiction for me.
Yeah, and then to kind of blend it all together, you know, I kind of came to him with shaving issues. So we actually have a friend who's been growing facial hair since I'm pretty sure the day he came out of the womb. And you know, he had a whole myriad of different handles and different shaving stuff because he got into it way later than we did. And so I came to both them and they told me, hey, you should get this. You know, they sent me over to Maggard's Razors and they're like, hey, why don't you grab some things from here? And I said, okay, that's cool. So I purchased a few things, you know, cut up my face a lot when I was learning how to do it. And I remember I sent a couple messages. I'm like, I don't know, you guys are insane. I don't know how you're doing this. I watched a few videos on YouTube, you know, got more into it, got my technique down. It was a lot better. But how Apex actually came around is we actually went to, I don't remember what year it was.
2019, the Maggard shaving meetup.
Yeah,
it was just prior to COVID.
Yeah, so we had a friend that lived in Michigan, and you know, I think it was about an hour and a half away. So we ended up spending the weekend there. We all went together, you know, went to go meet the artisans that were there in the area, and that had come from outside the state to come visit. Kind of saw what they had to offer. You know, I'm still newbie and a novice going into it at the time, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Look at that scent. I think I came away with my favorite soap being Tortuga from Black Ship.
That or Henry and Victoria.
Henry Victoria, which Cuban cigar is, I cannot use it anymore because my skin is too sensitive. But anyway, after that, you know, I kind of had a revelation, and I said, hey, you know, we should get into the soaps thing. Let's take a look at what we can do. We've got some crazy ideas that we'd like to do, evident by kind of what we sell now. So it just kind of went from there. We just did our research, watched a lot of YouTube videos, read some books, figured it out, went through some trials and tribulations of screwing stuff up, not making things that, you know, would turn out very well. So just kind of went from there, and we just kept, you know, looking at what kind of sense we could do. We were trying to time it up with, you know, different calendar events and trying to figure out what our brand and image was. And we kind of came into that more like gourmand, unique, you know, this is a unique type of scent. So to the boring stuff though, I actually work from home. I've been in procurement and supply chain my whole life. So I'm actually 29. I started off in like telecom, and then actually I work for like a biotech company now. So doing procurement and negotiations, analysis, stuff like that. And then Eduardo can tell you what he's doing these days.
So I do procurement stuff too for a small grocery store in the neighborhood, and I'm also looking to probably get a job teaching English to Japanese students, adults and children. So looking forward to that. And yeah, I think that's all the
Yeah.
boring stuff out of the way.
Yeah. So
Right.
basically, a hobby became something that we enjoyed doing, and we wanted to share it with everyone else.
Right. So you guys obviously have a day job, and this is kind of what you do when you have time to do it. But I do want to dive a little bit deeper into this because your brand is a great example of one of the many brands in this hobby that nobody talks about and nobody knows about, and so I'm going to try to maybe bring some attention to what makes you guys great because you have like for example your soap base is unsuspectingly good, which I've noticed, at least in my personal opinion, that all the greatest soap bases, like when it comes down to where the rubber meets the road, are all from brands that nobody knows about. Like because the heavy marketing budget of some of these other artisans is sucking all the air out of the room. So, you have a tallow soap base. Was it a challenge to develop that soap base? You said you had some trial and error. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it just even the lie. So we knew what bases, going into any type of in a professional sense, procurement, you have to know what you're looking to procure and purchase to kind of realize, what negotiation skills you have, what you're looking for specifically that you can leverage. So the amazing thing about, regulations and stuff is you have to put your ingredients on the label of anything that you sell essentially. So with his collection of, what was it, 160 something or 70 soaps at the time?
It was 120.
Yeah.
So
So,
who's counted?
but basically, so far less now because he's gone through them and we've worked on that habit. But we basically took those soap bases, figured out which brands that we enjoyed the most, looked at how they were consolidating their formula, what was the basis, what did we like out of it, and we kind of refined that, did some experimentation in my kitchen. A lot of it was just coming down to the ratio of the different lies of potassium, and the potassium that we were using was one of the main culprits, and we did varying different levels of what we were doing. We made some not so nice soaps, some soaps that burned us, some soaps that were too soft, that were required some elbow grease, like a legitimate hockey puck. Like you could have thrown this on an NHL ice rink and played with it. So we eventually nailed it down, took some notes, did some math, which we both hate. Learning how to convert different things to get ratios and stuff that we could recreate. So we knew we had to stand out when you come into a space where there's already established artisans that have fan bases and stuff like that. We knew we had to have something that's quality. And then you had mentioned before, about marketing and big budgets. We see it at the companies that we work for. A lot of it is just getting your stuff out there to people, but you want to have a solid product that's going to keep them coming back, because you could sell a bunch of products to a bunch of people once, but then you're limiting your market share there. So we wanted to make sure it was solid. It didn't hurt me. It didn't burn my skin. It worked well with him. We sent it around to friends to make sure that we had a good pool of people that were using it, that it worked pretty well. So, that was kind of the whole basis of all that.
Right. So it's really interesting how just if you tweak the slightest little ingredients, it can totally change the dynamics of the end product. I guess that's one of the reasons why I've thought about getting into this before, but I'm just like, I don't know that I got the patience for that. Let's talk about a couple scents. I don't own any full size tubs, but I did get the full gambit of your samples. One of them that I've been enjoying recently, at least picking it up as I walk by and smelling it, is this one right here. This is Tranquility.
Yep. It's one of our favorites.
This one's all lavender, blackberry, raspberry, that sort of thing. I'm noticing a theme of blue raspberry, because like then there's another one that's like to the moon. That's
yes.
Another big blue raspberry sort of scent. Great scent. And then I've noticed that you actually incorporate different colors, if the camera can pick that up, into the soap base. And so this one's got little nuances in the actual color of the soap, and then this one is just like straight up green. So I haven't seen you guys put out anything new in a while. Is there anything in the pipeline currently?
Yeah, so the blue raspberry stuff, that's 100% me as a kid. Any blue liquid, which, if you remember old school Windex, my parents had to keep me away from.
Mm-hmm.
But any sort of liquid that was blue raspberry flavored, I loved. So I actually wanted to make it a staple of mine, and my favorite one is our brain freeze. Um, and there's two scents that we have there, and you can check those out. We've got samples on our website, and I started off with that as my birthday scent, and that kind of began it. To the moon, we wanted to kind of have some sort of variation, and the sample you did show, a lot of the times the samples that we give out are the excess from the full pucks that we make. So the full pucks are actually the more, there's three colors in there and a little bit more of more aesthetically pleasing way. But we wanted to take on a challenge of something, to see what we could do with soap. There's a lot of different artisans that do the bar soaps, the cold process stuff, and we kind of took inspiration from there to kind of see if we could bring it over to hot process. So that worked out pretty well, and we just figured, if you're looking at this soap and it smells good, and then you're getting, hey, look, there's red, white, and blue there, super patriotic, that's a pretty cool design. I like how it fits with the kind of rocket pop type of scent, and go from there. So tranquility, we enjoyed scents that smelled good. We have a good connection with the source that we use for all of our fragrances. And so sometimes things work and sometimes things don't work. So we may have a scent that just doesn't appear in the soap as well as we wanted to, and when we're testing, so we may have to move on. So we're always trying to see what works, trying to time things up. But yeah, we've actually taken some time away from innovating, kind of creating new scents. A couple of, both of us had some events happening in our life recently that kind of shifted our focus. When a soap company gets started, and it's your full attention to detail and everything, and you can pour all into it, we got to make sure that we're selling things to get money in here. So there was a couple different job changes. We had some family members that had suffered some medical issues, so we kind of pulled that back, put it on hold, and just wanted to pull back on the marketing and money so that we could take care of what we needed to do. So we're slowly coming back. We're always planning different things. We're always looking to see what we can do. We don't want to disappear. We have some things coming up in the pipeline where we're going to really push and market. It's going to take some time for some stability. The world's a crazy place, and we're just a little tiny soap company. But we're stubborn. I'm stubborn. Whenever I start something, I head strong, and I'd like to take it far. But we're also taking in the criticisms, and a lot of people have said, yeah, hey, we really don't know much about you guys. In my mind, that's just it's kind of a good thing right now, though, to know that we're not being bombarded with large orders that we may not be able to fill based off of that. I kind of want to cultivate, somebody like you who's taken the risk, bought our soaps, really liked them, and is now spreading the word. So we want to, be able to scale up from whenever we're prepared to. So yeah, thank you for buying those scents, and again, thanks for having us on here. So
Let's move on to another one that I think is really interesting. Nightcrawler. I think anybody with half a brain can guess what that is. So we have a gummy worm scent, of course. I am dying to know what's the story with this one.
The story is, I just wanted to put something out that, like, I think, the hobby needed, and something, I said it as a joke, as a complete joke. And then one day I'm like, what if we really do it? What if we just really pull it off? And I'm like, let's do it.
yeah, and so I mean, this guy, whenever we stop off at the gas station, he's going to the candy section. He's scrolling through. He knows like more different types of candy. I'm a chocolate guy, so gummies, I'm like, sweet stuff is good or whatever. But he's always been into gummies. We're always going to stores and stuff that kind of sell all the different varieties. And a scent opportunity came up where we're looking at the profile of this, and we're like, whoa, you know what? This might actually work. I'm super skeptical of everything that we do. So I'm like, let's get some scents let's test it and see if it actually lives up to its name. And it did. And so we said, okay, cool. One step down, let's throw this in a soap and see what happens. And it ended up working out pretty well. It's actually one of our more potent fragrances, which I'm surprised at, because a lot of the sweeter stuff tends to like dissipate unless you put it in like an aftershave or whatever. But it turned out pretty well. People enjoyed it. We had a customer before who bought it for his son to kind of introduce him into shaving, and That's another good thing about Apex, though, is these are not the stone cold solid, your dad's scents that you're going to get, that kids are like, ew, I don't like the scent of leather, I don't like the scent of lavender. This is more fun to kind of get them involved. And we've had women and stuff kind of comment and say they liked it too, though. So it became like, hey, let's push the boundaries, let's see what happens, and if we take an L and learn from this, and we learn from it. But it ended up being one of our better sellers. So
Yeah, it's some of your products are just fascinating. Like I remember I did a video on love and other drugs, and I was not expecting to like that. Like I was really closed minded. I was like, oh boy, here we go. But I had to eke out. I had to crank out a Valentine's Day video, and so that's what I grabbed. And it was just like, this is actually pretty good. Like I can stand to use this. So your brand kind of makes me notice two things. One is even the sense where you're just like, I'm not sure if I like that. You open it up and it's just like, this is actually pretty good. And another thing I've noticed is, depending on how you view it, you have no scent dupes. It's all original. Versus like some of the other brands where it's just like they have 25 cents and 15 of them are Dior Sauvage and Creed Aventus and Yves Saint Laurent, something or other. All yours are, you had like there's one cold one, which is an obvious scent reference to Coca-Cola, but for the most part, you're not like just grabbing an off the shelf scent and recreating it in a shaving soap. You take the time and you make something interesting.
yeah. So like a lot of the stuff that we're doing when we came into this, I wanted it to be unique. I wanted something that would stand out. We know that coming into this with the experience and the client base that a lot of already established artisans have, I don't want to overstep on their toes. If they've kind of consolidated something in a formula or a scent, I wanted to stand out. It's easy because I've seen actually a lot of companies online. If you scroll through enough, wet shaving stuff, you'll start to get recommendations on Instagram for like dupes of perfumes and stuff like that. And so that's easy to sell to people that are looking for those scents in general. But one of the most important things in any sort of marketing or any sort of company you do is you need to stand out, and you need to give people a reason to come to you and to create your own identity of kind of what you do. If we're just copying what everybody else is doing, I know bay rum's pretty popular, lavender is pretty popular. That's great if those scents smell good, though. But what's gonna prevent us, or what's gonna allow us to compete with the other brands and stuff like that? And a lot of this isn't always just competitive, though. It just comes from ideas that pop up in our head. And I don't know if Eduardo wants to do this, but him and I kind of have we love energy drinks, and there's kind of been like a revolution of energy drinks. So I don't know if you're familiar with Gorilla Mind. It's a guy on YouTube who actually started this company, and he sort of innovated kind of a lot of the different flavors and stuff, like Ghost Brand did, which is another brand, and made energy drinks taste more similar, less chemically and stuff like that. And so as I was seeing that happen, I was thinking, what, we can do something interesting as well too. Let's cut out our own little niche and be unique in a space that's been around for forever. It's niche in itself, though, but we want to offer something different, some variety. We've you buy a shaving puck, it lasts a long time. You get kind of bored of that scent. Okay, cool. What else is out there? You buy a couple of Apex soaps, and now you've got some variety you can go through, and it'll last you a long time. So variety is the spice of life, and that's one of our unofficial mottos for the company.
Very good. Good stuff. I like it. Let's talk about another one. As long as I got a bunch of samples here. This one is Speak Easy.
Oh, yes.
Which is the John Dillinger scent, more or less. This one actually really surprised me because I was expecting it to smell. I'm not sure what I was expecting. I think I was expecting something significantly more gunpowdery, but this is actually more it's woodier, it's richer, it's sweeter. It's definitely darker than most of your scents. What were you going for when you made this, or does it pretty much speak for itself?
No. So one of the things is we have a kind of a structure, a scaffolding of kind of what we want to do. So him and I were both born and raised in Chicago. Al Capone, Chicago gangsters, Tommy guns, stuff like that. We all,
Prohibition era.
yeah, prohibition, speakeasy bars, which are making a turnaround here in Chicago. You can go them now and have a pretty good time. But we wanted to kind of encapsulate that, that corrupt 1920s, roaring 20s, smoke room, backroom deals, gangster type of stuff going on. And actually, one of my favorite scents is actually from Uncle John was his pipe smoke, and I
Mhm.
really enjoyed that scent, and I actually wanted to create something based off of that. And I said, how could we put a Chicago spin on it? So there's a little bit of like bourbon and alcohol in it to kind of bring together that smoke. Because when you're drinking, you're smoking, you're having a good time. We wanted to encapsulate that, and we wanted to throw on how could we make this unique. So it's actually our one of our other scents that's a Chicago-based classic. Another one is Green River, which maybe mentioned later, but we wanted to make it unique, and we figure let's maybe push the boundaries on the label a little bit. Let's see, let's take a little a risk here and see if we're going to get any pushback for putting gangsters and guns on stuff. But people enjoy the scent. They look past the label brings them in, and then they understand the product once they have a full shave with it.
Yeah, it boggles the mind how much time, money, and energy people put into just the craziest labels. And I don't know, maybe it sells soaps, maybe it doesn't. But I've seen plenty of brands that sell a lot of soap, and their labels are, well, pretty simple. It gets the point across. So I'm not sure that I'm not sold on the idea that metaphorically speaking, that a label is necessarily what sells the soap. I think there's a broader presentation that goes into getting a product out the door. What do you think?
Yeah, so I know I talk a lot, personality trait of mine, so I'll let Eduardo chip in here. But two of my favorite soap companies that have pulled me into kind of what they're doing, that drew me in with their label designs. Southern Witchcraft, I love. I like their aesthetic, their design, their scents. Noble Otter, I mean, I think they're probably the best, or they're the most well-known brand for their design and logo. It's a really refined, really artistic type of thing, and that's kind of what we wanted to do. Is we're still trying to find exactly what direction we'd like to go in our different soap labels. So in this preliminary phase, you can kind of think of us as like a poor man's form of a startup company, where we're kind of trying different things and trying to figure out what people want from us and where identity is. And also, we're working with graphic designers to figure out what type of relationship would bolster that. But from my perspective, that's kind of how I feel on that.
For me, some labels do sell the soap. There's
Okay.
a couple, not even a couple. It's been quite a few years. Barrister Man's Hollow. He had that skull on the dark background. I was like, I'm a metalhead, so that's like really pleasing to me. I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a try. I wasn't even thinking about it until I saw that, and that was like one of my top three sets.
Yeah.
And then like I remember just watching Noble Otter from their beginning. Like they had pretty simplistic labels and stuff, and I was like, I think they have a good product, and I hope like they get a better graphic designer for their labels. And now they just have some of the best in the hobby. I'm just like, good for them.
Yeah.
They deserve it for
Yeah,
their success.
we've noticed that brands that are the most successful become iconic. It feeds into their identity. That when you're buying a certain brand from a certain soap, kind of what ballpark range, what to expect. And then to the average person that may not be a hardcore wet shaver, that may not know that these brands exist, an interesting label may pull you in, intrigue you in the store, and then you may open that up, take a whiff of that scent, being like, oh my God, I need to purchase that. I'm going to try that out. And it's just marketing 101. You know what I mean? If you show people enough attractive things, they're going to take an attempt on it and see how they like it. And that's when you have to make sure that your product is solid to kind of, turn them into a repeat customer.
All right, fair enough. That's a great counter argument. I guess I have experienced both, to be fair. I've had soaps where it's just like, I'll buy it, unsmelled, without buying a sample, just because the label is so crazy. But then I've also, there are certain brands where it's just like, okay, I'm gonna go in there and look at the excuse me, the actual scent notes, and I know this artisan's style, right? So like now that I've had a couple of years since, well, I know what to expect. I know I know the general nature of the scents, because every artisan has like this, I don't know if theme is the right word, but there's a certain scent familiarity and consistency across all their products. So I think more often for me, I'll go into the and look at the notes and just be like, well, I know what their woody scents are like, and so I think this is a safe bet. So I've had it go both ways. One of the things that I think is really interesting that you don't see a lot of in the hobby is you have some really interesting aftershave bottles. Like you don't see that kind of creativity much anymore. So those, I think, if anything's gonna actually pull me in and get me to get a full size set, it's gonna be those aftershave bottles. Where'd you come up with that idea?
So you're gonna hate the answer I'm gonna give you, but it comes back down to just dollars and cents. At the time, the glass was cheaper than the plastic, and so they had a couple different designs that we could purchase from at the time. COVID changed a lot of stuff, supply chain, like it affected my daily life, it affected his daily life and kind of what we do. So you have to become tenacious and you have to understand, these suppliers may not be able to meet it. So there was a different genre of products that they had, and we were experimenting with them, and they had different sizes. They had different, there were more rectangular prisms type of bottles and stuff like that. But you also have to factor in, I'm going to have to put in more packaging to make sure this doesn't break. And we did in the beginning have a couple bottles that had broken on people, which we know we apologize for. And so we made the change to kind of wrap them up. But we're always looking for what's the most aesthetic option, and we have heard people that they enjoy the bottles and they like the way that they look, and it kind of provides that. So we take that into account too as well, though. So we're always looking to innovate and change, and we'd like to change things up. We actually changed up our sample bottles recently because we weren't able to get our old amber vials, so we're actually putting them in more plastic stuff that makes them a little bit more easier to dispense compared. So we take the feedback, we take what's available in the market into account, and factor them into one, and that's how that aftershave bottle came to be produced.
It's awesome. Well, it's funny how stuff like that just has to happen. It's not necessarily organic or deliberate, but that's just the path of least resistance ends up being the bright idea. But yeah, those aftershave bottles are crazy, especially when it's got something like Nectar of the Gods plastered all over it.
Yeah.
That's awesome stuff.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
So I think we are going to slowly bring this video to a close. I'm going to ask you to tell the audience, new shavers, veteran shavers. I always ask everybody the same question. If you had to give a piece of advice to wet shavers out there, something you've learned through this whole process, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. I would say, follow whatever vision you have, continue on it, push the boundaries of stuff, be unique in what you do, stand behind what you do. In the beginning, there were a lot of people that were doubting what we could do. They were like, what, I'm kind of afraid to take the risk on that. So you have to innovate, and we changed, we made it a little bit cheaper to get Apex products in the form of our samples. And, we wanted a low risk, low, type of reward situation to be able to get us out there. And just know that you're going to have to put in the work and effort. All the other companies that are established, you don't see what they did behind the scenes. You don't see what it took in the kitchen to cook the things up. You don't know what it took to establish the different designs and everything that came along. It's not going to be an overnight thing. Put your work and effort into it like you would any other skill or hobby, and see where it takes you, and then decide, whether this is still something you want to do.
For me, for anyone who's getting into the hobby, I'd say, come open-minded. There's some artisans, they're coming up, they might blow you away more so than the more established ones. I know he's been gone, not like, dead, but he hasn't been in the business for a while. Dapper Dragons, I used to be a big fan of his work too. And I went in open-minded. I was like, let's see, because the labels were pretty simplistic, but the scents were really good. And then I know you also have, the big artisans, like, they might make something crazy, like Declaration Grooming. They have an interesting base. They calls it milk steak. And I was like, that's just crazy. But I went in with an open mind, and It's just to me, it's top tier
Yeah.
feeling and sense, and I don't think you'll. I think if you leave yourself closed-minded, you're not gonna find much joy in this hobby.
Yeah, and to add on to all that too, though, you never know who you're going to inspire. You never know who's going to be able to look at the niche, and everyone's been so nice to us. We really enjoy what people are doing. We met a lot of different people at the MadLabz meetup, and we've been meaning to get back and make those connections. And nobody is out there to say, hey, my soap is the best. Screw that guy's soap or whatever. Everything is all encompassing. Everyone's trying to, just help the community in any way they can. They're trying to contribute their effort and everything into it. So there's no reason to be ultra competitive or to hate on somebody else's soap or to push others. Take risks, see what's out there, and then form your own opinion, which it's advice for life. You know what I mean? Whether it's food, whether it's soap, you like what you like. Not everyone's going to agree with you, but just be respectful of who's out there.
Very good. I like it. One more question. If you had to pick a single scent from your lineup that's your personal favorite, what is it?
Oh man.
Do you like to go? Let's see.
I gotta think about this. It's like choosing your favorite child, favorite pet, more like it.
Yeah. For me, honestly, I would have to probably say Tranquility. I know it's probably for my mind the most overall every day of the week. I know I would enjoy. Oh, there you go. The bottle's potent. Yeah, I've actually been using a lot of our Cutthroat lately just because I like to rotate out, but it's a stronger scent. But Tranquility brings me tranquility, smells really good. I've gotten compliments on it from other people, and I've got a lot of friends in our circle that really like to purchase that one.
I'm gonna have to go with Nectar the Gauze just because it's based on horchata. If you have Mexican cuisine, you know more or less what that or should know what that is. And it was something I felt the community didn't have. You have your woody scents, you have lavender, leather, bay rum, and I was like, we need something unique. We need something, you know, like it'll make people say, "Oh my God, this smells absolutely amazing," but also kind of sort of in the back of their mind, like, "Can I eat this?"
Yeah, he actually makes a killer horchata, homemade horchata, so compliments him well.
Yeah, those "can I eat this" scents, those are dangerous.
That's true.
Okay, well, Brent and Eduardo, you heard what they said, folks. They're not going away. So let's reinforce that. Let's make it very difficult for them to go away. So I will go ahead and put all the information you need to know about Apex Alchemy in the description of the video. I want to thank both of you for joining me. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and you have some enthusiasm behind you that you don't see that often. A lot of bigger artisans are quick to get set in their ways and get jaded because they've been doing it for so long, and they're doing so much of it. But I think you guys are in a sweet spot right now where there's just so much energy behind your brand, and I can't wait to see what comes next.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it being here. We're doing things incrementally. I always like to say whenever I pack an order, whenever I talk to somebody online, we're easy to reach to. If you want to reach out to us on Instagram, send emails, anything wholesale related, we'll work with you. We're still learning and growing. We're both young in this. There's a lot of more established people with a lot more money. So we're treading we're treading the current until we can get to a good spot where we can really expand and do a lot more. So now is the best time to get a hold of us. I'm the one answering all the DMs. If any other specific questions come up, this guy's the local expert in the area. I can connect you to him. So, we'd like to hear out back from everybody. Helps us improve our formulas and improves our product. So thank you again for having us.
Appreciate you coming on. Well, everybody, I think that's the video for today. Questions, comments, put them into the comment section of the video. Otherwise, until next time, this is Soap Thing telling everybody, as always, shave like you mean it. Thanks for watching.